Hello, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. I always appreciate you. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. So, for this review, I'm talking about a film that came out back in 1961. This film was directed by Robert Rossen and stars Paul Newman and Jackie Gleeson. And this is The Hustler. This is one of my personal favorites, actually. This is in my top five favorite films of all time. So, I know that's going to talk it up quite a bit, but I don't care. That's how I feel about this film. I love it that much. I'm a big Paul Newman fan. I know a lot of people look at him as the guy from the salad dressing bottles and the popcorn and all that, but this guy was actually one of the greatest actors of his time. I love his films: Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Cool Hand Luke, Ombre, uh, Nobody's Fool, even that came out in 1994. So yeah, and this happens to be my favorite role of his as Fast Eddie Felson. A great story about a pool shark that he's a really cool guy, but very flawed, very cocky. Yet just doesn't know when to quit once he starts losing. He's very good at playing pool, but he's a bad gambler, and it's sort of like watching, uh, a movie like Uncut Gems, where you just see a guy sort of struggling throughout a film. You see Fast Eddie really struggling, uh, having really great moments where he's actually winning at times, and then you see him just losing, and you're like, no, please stop, you're losing everything. It reminds me of Woody Harrelson in White Men Can't Jump in that way. Just a guy that can't get out of a funk. In many ways he's uh, a loser throughout the most of the film, pretty much. But it's a story about a guy that has to sort of learn how to become better. And once he does, the thing is, it takes a real tragedy that happens towards the end of the film that helps him to sort of wake up and help him become a better person. And once he does that, then winning comes very easily to him. And so this is a great story full of great lessons that I think lots of people can take away from when it comes to the whole winning and losing side of things, something that is lost, I think, in a lot of youth of today, considering now everybody gets a fucking trophy, right? Yeah, so, um, sorry, I don't want to go off on a tangent, some kind of crazy rant, some Dennis Leary style rant. But no, this is just a great movie, about an underdog who is down in the dumps in life and is using his skill to sort of, stay afloat, and his skill being pool, it's what he's good at. So I love movies about, a guy that's, or a person that, excuse me, that is really good at something, is like the best at what they do, but when somebody sort of comes along and challenges them, throws their whole world upside down. That's pretty much what happens with Fast Eddie Felson when he meets the Jackie Gleason character, Minnesota Fats. When he comes to a meeting, to a head with him, and they have their game, it's an epic showdown, their first game. And it's a 40-hour match where halfway through the match, at like the 25-hour mark, they have to stop. And you see the Paul Newman character needs like a massage, and he's all sweaty, and he just looks like a wreck, and he looks like he's had it, he's burnt out, but he wants to continue because he's addicted, and he's doesn't can't think about losing, so he just keeps doubling down on himself because it's basically like a desperate act. The guy is just clinging to himself. Basically, he counts on himself to pull himself out of the holes he digs himself into, but many times throughout this film he just can't do it, especially once he loses too much money, and they're just done with him. And that happens quite a few times in this film. You'll see scenes where he's doing really good and you're rooting for the guy, and then all of a sudden he just starts fucking up and you're like, what are you doing? And it's a lot like real life in that way. And this movie, considering it came out in the early 60s, it feels very real in that way. A 60s film usually has a little more Hollywood glamour to it, and this movie doesn't glamorize this kind of thing at all. If anything, it's sort of shows you the consequences of, you know, being in this kind of environment with all these, you know, shady people and just making the wrong decisions. At one point, he gets his thumbs broken, you know, gets mixed up in the wrong game basically, and just hustles the wrong people. There's a great scene in the film that is taken that the movie Kingpin from 1996, directed by the Farrelly brothers. There's a couple of scenes in this film actually that they sort of took and used in Kingpin. There's a scene where well, the Woody Harrelson character from Kingpin is with a guy that he meets, Randy Quaid, and they're at a bowling alley and they're pretending to be dictionary salesmen, and they're, you know, pretending to get drunk, and so that they're so drunk that, you know, pretending like they can't play well, and, you know, saying stuff like, "Oh, I'm gonna blow my entire commission because I'm so bombed," and something like that is done here, but it's a serious version with, you know, Paul Newman. And so a lot of that stuff I noticed when I watched this years ago. I realized, oh, okay, Kingpin, I see what you did there. And then there's a scene later on where the Paul Newman character shows up at somebody's house and he plays a game of pool. Very much reminded me of, there's a scene in Kingpin where they show up at somebody's house to play bowling. And, you know, there's a couple little, you know, parallels there I noticed, you know, that Kingpin was paying tribute definitely to the Hustler. So, and you know, a lot of artists, great artists, you know, they just they take inspiration for the greats from the greats definitely. So I don't blame them at all. But the love story in this film is also something that I think people will enjoy. It's uh, as far as relationships go, that are like depicted in old films. This is one of the more realistic kind of romances that I've seen in an old film, which is why I really dig it. These two characters, Sarah and Eddie, really seem to sort of complete each other. They're both on the bottom rung of life. You know, he smokes like a chimney and drinks like a fish, and basically so does she. And at first, there is a little sort of reluctance on her part when they first meet, but you can see that she really sort of takes a shine to him, and there's a little hard to get there, you know, when they're first about to have that first kiss. You know, she says something like, he leans in for the kiss, and you can tell she really wasn't into it at first, and she says something like, well, you're a little too hungry for me, something like that. And, you know, he walks away at first, but then, you know, later on he comes back, and then cut to, you know, I think the next shot was like something like they're in bed smoking cigarettes, that kind of shit. So, you know, just a great story, you know, great black and white film. The romance works. The pool hustling scenes are great. A lot of the pool scenes are just very well shot. It's a very fast-paced movie as far as the editing goes for an older film. Some people might find that actually surprising when they watch this film, how modern a lot of the filmmaking looks as far as the cinematography and the editing as far as the style is. And especially in the pool scenes, which are shot beautifully. You'll see a lot of great pool shots done within camera, which I always enjoy watching. Because you'll see Paul Newman make some great shots, and Jackie Gleeson. And Jackie Gleeson is so cool in this film. Has a great screen presence. Feels kind of intimidating at times. Gives you real like sort of gangster vibes for a guy that came from a 50s sitcom, The Honeymooners. Gleeson was really the prototype for Fred Flintstone as the character of Ralph Cramden. So, and you know, Fred Flintstone was the influence in the way for Homer Simpson when you think about it. So, we wouldn't have had Homer Simpson without Jackie Gleeson. So, if he's up there listening, up there in heaven, love you, Jackie. Thank you for your contributions. Loved You in the Toy, 1982 classic Richard Pryor film. And yeah, this is just one of my all-time favorite films. You know, it's a great, you know, hustler movie. Well, hustling, well, called The Hustler. So yeah, goes without saying. But you know, great pool shark movie. Great, you know, underdog story. Really does kind of feel like at times sort of the Rocky of pool movies. Not so much because of any real similarities to the film Rocky, other than the love story in the way that Much like Adrian and Rocky fill each other's gaps. You know, she got gaps, I got gaps. Together we fill gaps. Sorry, it's a terrible impression. Uh, you know, that's very similar to the romance here between Eddie and Sarah. And so, you know, guys can enjoy, you know, all the pool stuff, you know, and people that enjoy the romance stuff, you know, you can enjoy the romance stuff. This movie has something a little something for everybody, I feel. And George C. Scott is also in the film. Those that are fans of Patton or The Exorcist 3 or Doctor Strangelove, George C. Scott is really great actually as Bert, and you know, kind of plays kind of a sleazebag, you know, in the role of Bert. Really, kind of a mentor at times to our main character, but turns out to be, like I said, sort of a slight antagonist and sleazebag. Uh, by the time it's all over, don't want to give you any major spoilers. You know, if I keep talking, I'm afraid I'm going to do that, so I'm going to just strut up now. But yeah, 1961's The Hustler. Great film. Please find it on streaming. And if you can't, I don't know why. I have a feeling it might be on Peacock. I think I saw it there. But if it's not, um, there's the hard copy, baby. Paul Newman himself makes a terrific salad dressing. But yeah, check it out and look out for more of these reviews. I'm going to keep going on down the list of these classic films, and I got some more top 10s on the way. So appreciate you hanging out for a little bit. Always means a lot to me. Comment if you feel like it. You want to share, please do. It'll help out. Just the beginning stages, so I'm trying to spread the good word to everyone. You know, if you want to share, comment, like, subscribe, and look out for the next one. Everybody take care, and peace out. God bless.